Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take sources you send our way, things you're curious about, and really get into them to pull out the key ideas.
Basically getting up to speed on something interesting together.
Exactly. And today we have a really interesting mix. We're diving into the science behind a bacterium called Cutibacterium acnes.
Which, yeah, most people probably know in relation to acne.
Right. But we're also looking at how it's creatively transformed in the lore Bible for something called the Cütie Catcherz AR comic series.
Okay, so C, acnes, and acne feels familiar, maybe a bit unpleasant even.
Sure, it often gets painted as the villain,
Mm-hmm.
but the science shows it's more complex. We're talking about a specific kind of bacteria, gram-positive, anaerobic, meaning it lives without oxygen.
And it hangs out deep in our hair follicles or sebaceous glands, basically where the oil is produced.
Yeah, it actually feeds on sebum, which is just our skin's natural oil.
And part of its life cycle involves releasing things pro-inflammatory molecules, these tiny packages called extracellular vesicles or EVs.
And that's often linked to inflammatory acne, right? The red, angry stuff.
Precisely. But here's the twist, see. Acnes isn't always the bad guy. Some strains are just, normal residents of our skin microbiome, totally harmless. Commensal is the term.
Okay.
While other strains, or phylotypes as scientists call them, are more pathogenic, more likely to cause issues like inflammatory acne, think like IA1, IB2, different types.
But it depends on the specific type of bacteria and how our own body reacts.
Exactly. Your immune system's response is a huge part of the equation. It's this whole interplay.
Which makes the Cütie Catcherz comics so interesting. It's spelled C-U-T-I-E, but the source says pronounce it cuties.
Like the imaginary playground germs.
Yeah, and that's the core idea. The comic takes this complex science and represents C. acnes as these cuties, little microbial creatures.
Okay, so metaphorical germs. How does that map to the science?
Well, these cuties aren't just generic monsters. They have different personalities, different evolutionary paths in the story.
Ah, so that mirrors the different strains, the phylotypes of C. acnes. Like some are naturally more aggressive.
Exactly. The comic shows different cutie types causing different kinds of problems, different flare-ups. It directly reflects how some C. acnes phylotypes, like that IA1 you mentioned, have a higher potential to cause inflammation.
That's pretty clever. What else?
Remember how you said C. acnes can form communities? The comic calls them cutie nests.
Biofilms. Yeah, those protective slime layers bacteria build.
Right. And in the comic, these nests protect the cuties from simple attacks, making them harder to deal with.
Which is exactly the problem with biofilms in real life. They make bacteria-resistant to treatments, even antibiotics sometimes. It's a major challenge in treating persistent acne.
So the comic is visualizing that treatment resistance.
Seems like it. And what about those EVs and inflammatory molecules?
The comic calls them toxic spores or cloud bursts that agitated cuties release.
Ah, so that's the inflammation trigger visualized, like little clouds of irritation spreading out.
Yeah, it makes that microscopic process feel more, tangible. And it also shows how different people react differently. Sometimes the cuties sneak around, other times they cause huge, angry flare-ups like cysts.
Just like how our immune system can sometimes tolerate C. acnes and sometimes go into overdrive, leading to severe acne, it's capturing that variability.
So how does this actually, play out in the story or gameplay mechanics?
Well, the sources mention that sebum overproduction in the story fuels the basic cuties, makes them grow and spread.
Straightforward link, more oil, more food for the bacteria.
Exactly. And remember the commensal or friendly strains. The comic apparently has some cuties that can be calmed down or converted, maybe using something called chow moves.
Okay, so it's not just about killing everything. It mirrors the idea that some C. acnes are okay, maybe even beneficial.
Right, it reflects that nuance. And visually, inflammation, the redness and swelling is shown as like burning zones or agitated cutiforms in the comic.
Makes sense. What about the biofilms, the nests?
They require specific tools to break through, things called whips of wrath or sun drops.
So you can't just wash them away.
Mm-hmm.
You need something targeted to penetrate that defense.
Pretty much. It's a metaphor for needing treatments that can actually disrupt those established bacterial communities.
And they even touch on antibiotic resistance.
Yeah, apparently some cuties evolve, become tougher, and need combination attacks or teamwork to defeat.
Wow, that's a really smart way to illustrate a major real-world issue in acne treatment.
Definitely. And they even link hormonal shifts to sudden cutie surges like monthly monster raids.
Which, a lot of people will recognize that pattern.
So the comic seems to use the progression of acne itself as a kind of cutie evolution or metamorphosis.
Okay, break that down, like stage 1.
Stage 1 is called the dormant drift, non-inflammatory acne. Think basic, harmless-looking cuties just floating around, clogging system.
Like whiteheads and blackheads. Closed and open comedones.
Exactly, caused by that excess sebum and blocked pores. And the comic suggests gentle tools, like a cutie quill, maybe representing exfoliation.
Okay, stage 2.
The build-up brood, more severe non-inflammatory. The cuties get agitated, start clustering, building those early biofilms or nests.
So more whiteheads, blackheads, maybe some early bumps, starting papules, pustules, possibly linked to hormones.
Right, and the comic introduces more targeted things here, like mint mines and whips of wrath, needing something a bit stronger.
Makes sense. Then stage 3.
The biofilm blitz. This is inflammatory acne. The cuties are now hardened in deep nodule nests, resisting surface stuff.
This sounds like papules, pustules, but also those deeper sore nodules, often needing like oral antibiotics in real life.
Yeah, exactly. And the comic reflects this by needing deeper penetrating items like those whips of wrath again and sun drop.
And the final stage, stage 4.
The infected invasion. Severe inflammatory acne. Here you have the King Cootie and elite swarms in deep layers, spawning cis cuties with acidic attacks.
That's definitely mirroring deep, painful cysts, maybe spreading, high risk of scarring, the kind of acne that often requires really potent treatments like isotretinoin.
And the comic brings in things like chemomus and sun drops as necessary, suggesting those powerful interventions are needed.
Okay, so those are the stages. Can we see this in specific story moments?
Yeah, the source material gives examples from a one-shot comic, like the initial appearance of these harmless-looking pink cuties all over the city, Iltopia.
Symbolizing that subtle shift in the skin microbiome, what scientists call dysbiosis.
Exactly, the balance getting thrown off. Then a character, Roscoe, gets engulfed by a pink cloud.
Showing the dysbiosis taking hold, the cooties becoming more active, maybe more inflammatory.
Right, and then there's Nimbus, the protagonist, initially just trying to, like, physically pop the cuties.
The classic pimple-popping mistake.
And it just makes them angrier, more aggressive, which is exactly what happens when you squeeze inflamed spots. You often worsen the inflammation and risk spreading bacteria.
And didn't Pickles, his ally, warn him about that? Especially after he used a cutie popper's tool too harshly.
Yeah, Pickles apparently comments on misusing equipment and the danger of cross-contamination. Very relevant advice.
What about the sea moss thing?
Oh yeah, the townspeople are obsessed with sea moss as a miracle cure. But Pickles discovers this massive hidden cootie mound underneath the sea moss layer.
So the sea moss was acting like an occlusive barrier, trapping the problem, making it worse, while everyone thought it was helping.
Precisely. It's a great metaphor for how misinformation or using the wrong kind of occlusive product can actually exacerbate acne, even if it feels soothing on the surface.
And then Nimbus uses a super powerful EMP.
Yeah, in desperation. It wipes out the cuties, but causes massive dryness and collateral damage to the environment.
Like using way too harsh drying treatments that strip your skin barrier.
Exactly. And Pickles has that great line, "You can't burn the whole garden just to kill a weed." It perfectly captures the downside of overly aggressive, broad-spectrum approaches that damage the skin's overall health.
But then things shift when the Pore Patrol shows up.
Right. They represent a more diverse, scientifically informed approach. Each member embodies a different aspect of skincare.
Like who?
There's Dr. Hoot for research and methodology, Nurse Hop for soothing and gentle care, Lab Rat for innovation, Miss Glam focused on cosmetic aspects and biofilms, and Sergeant Dirt emphasizing routine and consistency.
So it's showing that good skincare isn't just one thing, it's a combination of approaches.
Yes. And Nimbus trains with them, learns resilience, learns to integrate these different philosophies.
And starts making better tools.
Yeah, tools based on these new principles. Serenity Mist for gentler control, an improved buster gel, even a probiotic phage mix.
Probiotics and phages, those are cutting-edge ideas in real acne research, targeting bad bacteria while supporting good ones.
Exactly. So when Nimbus faces the evolved cutitins, he uses these specific learned techniques. It shows progression, needing tailored solutions for tougher problems.
And in the final battle,
He uses the Serenity Mist not just to fight, but to sort of terraform the cutie layer, emphasizing restoring balance, not just destruction.
precision treatment.
And he uses things like probiotic pods and phage darts to break King Cootie's control over his friends who got infected.
Again, mirroring those targeted therapies that aim to rebalance the microbiome rather than just wipe it out.
Right. The final win is a team effort, combining everyone's unique skills and science-inspired tools.
And the takeaway for Nimbus.
He explicitly acknowledges that teamwork, self-care, balance, even emotional wellness. The lessons from the Pore Patrol are key to preventing future outbreaks. It's a holistic view.
Which is so important. For you listening, remember that managing skin isn't just about the products you use, it's about overall well-being too.
Absolutely. And this brings us to a really important point, how this understanding benefits listeners, particularly those with darker skin tones.
Okay, let's talk about that connection.
Well, acne can present differently in darker skin. Sometimes inflammation looks less red and more purplish or dark brown. And a major concern is the higher risk of post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, or PIH.
Those dark spots that linger long after the pimple is gone.
Exactly. So understanding the underlying science, the role of C. acnes, the mechanisms of inflammation, the importance of the microbiome is crucial for everyone, but especially helpful here. It helps you choose effective and gentle approaches.
Because harsh treatments might clear the acne, but worsen the hyperpigmentation.
Precisely. Overly aggressive or irritating products can trigger more inflammation, which in turn can lead to more significant or longer-lasting PIH in susceptible skin. That's why the Cütie Catcherz metaphor of finding balance and using targeted solutions is so relevant.
It emphasizes treating the problem without causing unnecessary irritation or lasting marks. It's about being precise and gentle, understanding what your specific skin needs.
Yes. Knowledge empowers you to advocate for your skin health and seek treatments that respect your skin type and minimize unwanted side effects like PIH.
So wrapping this up, it's really fascinating how the actual science of this tiny bacterium, Cutibacterium acnes, is reflected so creatively in Cütie Catcherz.
It really is. It's a powerful example of how creative mediums like comics and games can make complex science accessible, engaging, maybe even less intimidating.
Absolutely. And it leaves you thinking, doesn't it? What other parts of our biology, things we might find a bit, icky or just don't really understand?
What surprising scientific stories might they hold?
Yeah. And how could understanding them better actually empower us, help us see ourselves and our health in a new light? It makes you realize how scientific literacy can genuinely transform our perspective.
A great thought to end on. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Thanks for listening.
You got the cooties, we got the cure, fighting breakouts with facts and a whole lot of lore. It's Cütie Catcherz, beneath the skin, where science and story are about to begin. Let's go! You got the cooties, we got the cure, fighting breakouts with facts and a whole lot of lore. It's Cütie Catcherz, beneath the skin, where science and story are about to begin. You got the cooties, we got the cure, fighting breakouts with facts and a whole lot of lore. It's Cütie Catcherz, beneath the skin, where science and story are about to begin. Let's go!
That's a wrap on this episode of Cütie Catcherz Beneath the Surface, where science meets art and technology, and skincare gets a superpower treatment. If you learned something, laughed a little bit, or just loved the blend of art, culture, and biology, make sure to follow the journey at cutiecatchers.com and stay up to date on Instagram at Cütie Catcherz. Catch every new episode on Spotify and YouTube. Just search Cütie Catcherz Beneath the Surface. And remember, the cooties are real, but so is your power to fight back with knowledge. This is produced by me, Stephen Christian, of Stuck on an Island, in collaboration with Iltopia.